Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Season 2 finale of the 8 o'clock spot. My name is Bryson Carver. I am your host tonight. We are joined by not just 4 outstanding contestants, but the top 4 on our 8 o'clock spot leaderboard. Number 1 and number 2 already locked in. We'll obviously give like a big sort of congratulations to Arthur Hurst and to Paris Brown. But we got a third place to decide between the 2 men that you see on the bottom to the left side. Mike Guido and Dylan Lima. Mike, I'll start with you first. We are in speaking terms, correct? Like we're good, right?
We're barely on speaking terms since I found out that the NBA draft coverage that the GRYD will be hosting tomorrow night and Thursday night will, for the first time in its history, not include you, my friend. So that is a problem that I have. I am thoroughly disappointed, but I'll see if I can put my emotions to the side to earn myself a medal tonight.
I think we both got to do that, obviously, because there's a lot at stake tonight. And Dylan Lima can attest to that. Dylan, who's a big Boston Celtics fan, your team has been as active as anybody in the last 24 hours. Moving, this isn't a topic tonight, but moving Drew Holiday late last night and moving Kristaps Porzingis today. How are you feeling tonight about the third place spot? The Celtics, you got a lot going on right now, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a crazy past couple days. I mean, between the finals going to 7, the Celtics losing 2 of their key pieces in the final that brought them their championship. I'm a big fan of Simon, so I'm excited to see what he'll do for the team. Georges Niang, not so much. I don't really care for him, but we're finally under the second luxury tax apron, which is like death in the NBA now if you're in that second luxury tax. So now they have more flexibility to make some more moves and actually make some real free agent signings that they're definitely desperate going to be needing with Tatum gone.
Definitely. It's going to be really interesting to watch the Boston Celtics next season with all the new sort of roster changes they made and with Jaylen Brown as the lead dog. Arthur Hurst, listen, we're going to celebrate you tonight at the very end because you had clinched, it feels like, 7 months ago, the 8 o'clock spot Season 2 championship. But Arthur, we came off 7 great NBA Finals games. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, man, I'm feeling great, dog. I mean, came in here 7 months ago. I was a rookie, the new guy coming in. And, consistency matters, man. The best of it, I'm available, everything. And so, just appreciate everybody, coming in and pitching in. But, Mike, don't look like that, dude. I appreciate you too. You kicked my ass the first few times. And then, after I got that one on you, it was over. So I appreciate you, my man, for, showing me the ropes and, just got to do what I got to do.
For sure. And someone else who can attest to consistency on the 8 o'clock spot is Paris Brown. Paris, listen, you are a resident Indiana Pacers fan. I know that was a tough Game 7, especially with it played out. We're about to get, obviously, all up into that on the Oklahoma City side, Indiana side. But how are you doing the last couple of days, my friend?
I'm doing all right. It's more, I don't know what's worse, watching that game or walking outside to 95 degrees every day, getting beat up by the sun. I've been dealing with that. So,
yeah.
But it's here. I got to witness it. I got to witness something I haven't seen my entire life so far, being a Pacers fan. So, do I want to win? Yes, but nah, I got to win here, I guess.
No question. Listen, Paris, Arthur looking to kind of just finish the season strong. But really tonight, we can just go and pull up the leaderboard. Let's get right into it. You see, obviously, Arthur Hurst, Paris Brown at the top. Dylan Lima in third place at 184 points. Mike Guido in fourth place at 182 points, folks. It is a 2-point deficit for Guido to Dylan. This could come down to the wire. This is the only 8 o'clock spot where we have built into the show all 4 guys automatically advance to the final round. If you score 0, you're going to the final round because we'd actually like to hear everybody's topic or everybody's take on our final topic. But let's go and get into our 8 o'clock spot rules one more time for the Season 2. Best take, it's 5 points. Second best take, it's 3 points. Third best take, it's 1 point. Given that we have 4 guys, if you're in fourth place, too bad. You come home with nothing. Let's get into the NBA Finals because the Oklahoma City Thunder won their first championship since moving to Oklahoma City in Game 7 by a final score of 103-291 over the Indiana Pacers. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was Finals MVP. We'll kind of touch more on Shai in our third topic, but I'll go and start with you, Mike Guido, because this was a dominant run to the finals, but obviously not one where Oklahoma City didn't face their fair share of adversity, 2 Game 7s. But do you think now that they've got their title, do you think that this is a team that is now going to go on a dynastic run?
I would bet that they are. And the reason I'm saying that is because this team is not only set up for now, but they're set up for many, many years from now. I mean, they have 2 first-round picks this year. They have 3 first-round picks next year, 2 first-round picks in 2027. I mean, it just seems like it never ends with how many first-round picks they have in the next several drafts. On top of that, they're bringing back the entire team next year and almost the entire team the year after that. So it is very, very close to this team being like one of the best that we could potentially ever see, depending on how they manage their resources. They certainly have the capabilities of doing so. This is certainly a franchise right now that is built for success. We saw it obviously this year. They are an all-time defensive team. They had the best defensive rating of all time. I mean, this is a team that won 68 games in the regular season. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the MVP this past year. He's clearly one of the 2 or 3 best players in the entire NBA right now. I mean, we're talking about a team that has literally all the makings of what a dynasty could look like. They are so deep. They are so set up with resources. And if they have adjustments that they need to make, they have the assets in order to do so. So, listen, I think if you have money to play with, which they certainly do, they have a roster that they feel very confident in that is entirely coming back, and they have draft picks that are up the wazoo, whether they can use whether it be in the draft or they can use it in trades or whatsoever. They can do whatever they want going forward. Obviously, Sam Presti, what he's done has been unbelievable, and it dates back to many, many, many years ago from when we started seeing all of this. Listen, I'm not going to say that they definitely will be, but there isn't really an excuse for them not to be, given the position they're in now.
No question about it. And it's one thing, as you mentioned, sort of for the team to have the assets that they do. It's another fact that they have arguably the best general manager and executive in the NBA. That just makes it even more optimistic for Oklahoma City moving forward. So good take there by Mike Guido. Let's go and bring in Dylan Lima into the mix. Dylan, is Oklahoma City about to go on a dynastic run? Do you think this is going to be the next dynasty we see in the NBA?
I mean, the NBA is built for parity. It's one of those leagues that, especially recently, ever since the Warriors won their back-to-back, that we don't really see back-to-back winners anymore. Most of the time, there's 3 key issues that championship teams go through. It's your draft picks, it's your salary cap, and it's whether you're losing any key players coming this upcoming free agency. And the Thunder have all 3 of those boxes not checked. I guess checked or not checked, depending how you look at it. But again, they have plenty of picks. They're under the first apron, which is amazing too. They're about middle of the pack as far as salary, as far as all the teams for salary. So if they wanted to pick up a Naz Reid, or if they want to pick up another guard in free agency that are maybe aging, that's try to be on a winning team before they retire, they could very well do that without really, in fact, probably outbidding half the teams in the league that are needy. And then also we could talk about the GM Sam Presti and how amazing he is, where he just has the magic touch and where he just finds the best value in trades. He can find players in the draft that other teams seem to look over. They have every single makings to be a dynastic team, and I could very well see a back-to-back, hell, maybe even a 3-peat, depending on how things go. But again, we're looking too far ahead. I thought the Celtics were going to go back-to-back this year, and clearly the Jason Tatum injury was, the straw that broke the camel's back for them. So we can't look too far into the future. But when I look at this Thunder team, what don't they have? They have the defense. They have the scoring title MVP, best player in the league, in my opinion, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I mean, it's one of those things. They have an embarrassment of wealth on all across the board. I'd be very scared if I'm in that Western Conference trying to figure out how I'm going to dismantle the Thunder come next year, because I just don't see a hole in that team.
I would certainly agree with you. And defensively, it's funny. I feel like Sam Presti basically constructed. We know the NBA is a copycat league. I actually talked about this on Carving It Up yesterday, where Sam Presti basically built the mold where he says, okay, we are going to have a bunch of two-way players. People talk about analytics and three-point shooting and whatnot. Our analytics stat is going to be, we're just going to take away more shots the other team because we're going to force so many turnovers. And that's what got Oklahoma City home to winning the 2025 title. Let's get Arthur Hurst in the mix. Arthur, are the Oklahoma City Thunder about to win a championship multiple times over and become the next dynasty of the NBA?
No doubt about it, in my opinion, Bryson. I mean, the previous two guys talked about it. The best thing about them so far is Alex Caruso is their oldest player at 31 years old. So technically, in terms of basketball age and years that we've seen in the NBA for the last decade or so, he's still relatively young. So Alex Caruso could easily play another 3 years with them if they decide to keep him on as that veteran coming off the bench. Add in that most of those guys under there are probably at 27 or younger. Hartenstein's 27. I know Kenrich Williams is 30. Shea is 30. No, not 30, 26. But everybody else is at least 25 years old or younger. So those guys could easily grow into their own as a team. Or with the fact that they have so many picks, they can easily say, you know what, we have a chance to get this player. We're going to trade this young guy or some pieces with some picks and go somewhere else for a better guy at their position. But they're so deep and they're so well coached with Mark Daigneault and that coaching staff. Mark Daigneault is easily rising the ranks right now. He's had his first finals under his belt, his second playoffs, I believe, as their head coach. So it's just a thing to where they're allowed to grow, right? We didn't see this with their previous Oklahoma City team, where they weren't willing to pay Harden. Harden leaves, and then Kevin Durant wanted out of OKC, and then it was Russ's team. We didn't get to see what they could have become. But if they just manage all of this right in terms of contracts, picks, drafting, because that's the other thing is that guys are going to want to get paid. Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams are both on their rookie contracts. If they continue to produce positively for this Oklahoma City team, they're going to want to get paid. And hopefully Oklahoma City will have the cap space and the money be able to pay those guys, because they can easily have a big three. And there's a conversation around the NBA if big threes are done. We can easily see a big three being homegrown in OKC. Probably the last one we saw, what you could say, is the Golden State Warriors back with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. And we saw what those guys did and how they were able to just keep the ship together and win 4 championships. But we'll see what happens with how this OKC team is managed, how they're able to manage each other, how they're able to grow together. If feelings and pride and ego stay aside and they keep the main thing, which is winning basketball games and winning championships, they can easily go on a dynastic run.
Well, and that's a scary thing. Your point about Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren is the fact that they are so young. The fact that, I mean, both of those guys were drafted, I believe, in 2022, and Jalen Williams is dropping 40 in the finals. Chet, despite his offensive struggles, was awesome as a shot blocker throughout the finals. So the potential ceiling for this Oklahoma City team is scary, no doubt about it. Let's go and bring Paris in the mix. Paris, are the Thunder about to become the next NBA dynasty? Are they going to reel off 2, 3, 4 championships, something like that?
I mean, I can definitely see them winning multiple championships. I'm not going to immediately say they're going to win next year, just because it is so hard to go back to back, no matter how good your team is. And the fact that they're in the West always has all the talent in the world. So they're going to have to do it in the tougher conference. But I mean, they've set themselves up as a team to be in the best position. They just won the first finals they made it to with the second youngest team to ever make it to the finals. I mean, you can't be in a better position to get to the finals and win the finals with the second youngest team and have this many picks still stacked up to go. There's so much you can do. I mean, obviously, as everybody said, you're going to want money. J-Dub's going to want money. He hasn't even reached his peak yet. He's just getting better. We saw him get better basically every single game of the finals himself. Chet hasn't reached his peak yet. He was injured this whole first year. So this is really his first year playing. So all he's going to do is keep getting better. Shai's 26. I mean, you could say this is his peak, but, who knows? He could take another step. And with how young they are, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? They could have a bench player in a year or two become another star player, and then they can, hey, we have a star bench player, or we can trade them for more picks. Same with all the picks they have. They could easily trade away the picks. If something doesn't work, say, in a year or two, they have a rough year or not as good as a year and they get beat, they can, they have picks they can just trade away, so they don't have to hope their pick works. They can just trade away some picks and bring in the player they need, and they're set. So really, honestly, they're already set. And any type of thing that happens to them, they have a way around it. Rather, they get another player, they trade for another player, they sign another player. So, I mean, as a team, how a team is built, you can't be built better than this team. It's tough to say, are they going to win next year? Because obviously, as I set up, they should. But, we saw so many people get injured this year. It's only a matter of time before the injury bug hits their team, unfortunately. So one of these years, they're going to have a big injury, and that's going to set them back a year. But, I mean, for the next 3, 4, 5 years, I mean, the Thunder are going to be – they're going to be the team to beat in the West, and they might be the team to beat in all of the NBA for the next half a decade.
They very well could be, and like you said, set up for the future. And I do like your point about the fact that, listen, the Western Conference is stacked. I mean, we're going to talk about the Kevin Durant trade. That's not necessarily a long-term thing for Houston, but just sort of that opportunity for the Rockets to continue to progress. Let's go and bring everybody back into the mix. Dylan, Mike, and Arthur, along with Paris. Mike, I thought you had the best take of the segment, my man. Big match here, off to a strong start with 5 points. Paris, number 2 at 3 points, and Arthur, 1 point as well for you. Dylan, scoreless thus far, but an opportunity, obviously, to get back on the board. As we move into our second segment, Paris, look away here. Tyrese Haliburton, only a few minutes into Game 7 of the finals, blows his Achilles after going, by the way, 3 or 4 from the field, at 9 points. It looks like he's about to have maybe a potential legacy game in this Game 7. Dylan, I'll ask you, because this is the million-dollar question that everyone's been talking about after Game 7. Knowing the fact that Tyrese Haliburton had a calf injury going back to Game 5, didn't look 100% in Game 6, should he have played Game 7?
I mean, look, if you're a competitor as much as anyone, especially in the most critical game in the NBA Finals, it's so easy to say in hindsight that he shouldn't have played, that, he was going to blow up his Achilles, like, how we've seen with Lillard and Tatum earlier in the playoffs. But the fact of the matter is that he played through Game 6. He seemed just fine. He seemed confident himself going to Game 7. We saw how he was in the first couple minutes, shooting threes, making his buckets, and he came out with a fire. Like, he did not look like someone that was hobbling around looking to be hurt anytime. But it's just one of those things that Achilles injuries isn't a joke. And you're in the NBA Finals. You're in Game 7. This is do or die. He had to play. If this was Game 1 or Game 2 and he maybe had a calf strain coming into the finals, and yeah, maybe you should sit out early on in the series just so you're ready for Game 3, Game 4. But considering the terrible timing of the injury, and look, Haliburton's a dog. He's without a doubt a dog. He's someone that wants to lay it out on the line and try to do everything he can to make his team win, and that's what he did. He did all he can do, and unfortunately his body just betrayed him, and you can't predict injuries. I mean, the calf strain was something that was obviously concerning, and we've seen it in the past with someone like Kevin Durant who had a calf strain that turned to Achilles. And you could kind of do this whole like, oh, well, it happened before, it's going to happen again. Sure. But it's like, how many times are you going to come back into the playoffs? How many times are you going to be in a Game 7 for the championship? And, it's like, I would feel like Haliburton would have so much regrets if he didn't go out there and even try. So I have nothing but respect for Haliburton. He did everything that he possibly could to do what he needed to do. And, again, it's unfortunate luck, but that's just how it goes in the NBA. Things don't go always your way.
And to your point, you mentioned Kevin Durant, and I talked about this on my show. Like, the big difference I saw between KD's initial calf injury to Haliburton's, Kevin Durant exited the game immediately. Like, all of us felt like, oh my God, KD might have injured his Achilles. Seriously, that wasn't necessarily the consensus or how folks felt. None of us are doctors in this room about Haliburton, but I think that was a big difference that people saw when they kind of looked at the comparison of those two, obviously both blowing their Achilles in the finals. Bring Arthur Hurst in the mix. Arthur, listen, $1 million question. Should Tyrese Haliburton with the calf strain played in Game 7?
As the leader and the number one guy on that team, he honestly had no choice. Now, Dylan said that hindsight is 2020. So the fact that he got injured, a lot of people can say, oh, he shouldn't have. And the fact that he's out next year as well, that hurts him. And again, that can add to the argument of he shouldn't have. But it's not like Tyrese Haliburton is some guy that's coming off the bench, right? All respect to Benedict Mathurin, it's not like that's the position Tyrese Haliburton is in. He is the number one option on this team. He is the leader of this team. And as the leader of the team, you got to do some things that you may be uncomfortable with. And for him, it was, look, I'm not 100%. It's clear as day I'm not 100%. But I'm going to go out here and I'm going to give my absolute best. He started off 3 of 4, I believe, from 3, had 9 points. You know who also had 9 points combined? Nesmith, Turner, and Toppin. So he literally had the scoring width of 3 of those guys. Aaron Nesmith had 3. Miles Turner has 6, and Obi Toppin had 0 points. And those 3 guys played the entire game. And this guy gave you what he could in the few minutes that he played. It is very unfortunate because, again, he misses next year. And with the fact that they went to the finals this year and how amazing they played, having comeback victories, 5 of them, and him being the clutch player that he was, it's like, dang, the fact that they were able to get this far, who knows what they could have done next year with him being healthy. But no, man, he's a competitor, and he honestly had no choice but to be out there. This is what a superstar does. We expect the superstar guys, the number one guys, to be out there when they're needed the most. We wouldn't be asking this question if it was Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. We wouldn't be asking anybody else if it was anybody else this question. We would say, nah, they had no choice but to be out there for their team. They had to sacrifice their body. This is a game 7. We haven't had a game 7 since 2016. This was much anticipated between two great basketball organizations with a lot of history and great fan bases. We want to see the best players play. It does not matter if you're 100% or not. So, no, he should have played. I'm proud of him for playing. I respect the fact that he played. And, yes, he misses next season, but in the end, he did exactly what he was supposed to do as the leader of that team.
I like your leadership point about it, because we've talked about in this show and other shows, like, is Haliburton a superstar? Now, he's certainly the best player in the Pacers and also kind of the heartbeat of that team. And TJ McConnell talked about afterwards, like, it just sucked the life out of the organization, which you understand, obviously, with the way that it happened. So good take there by Arthur. Bring Paris to the mix, the Pacers fan. Paris is a Pacers fan looking into this, and obviously Haliburton's gone for all next year. Should he have played in Game 7?
So obviously, like, the medical thing is like, no, he shouldn't have played because of the calf strain. And since he has a calf strain, the odds are it's so much higher he's going to do it. But any rational person, put yourself in that situation. You're playing that game. Anybody who has been an athlete has played through an injury, has played through a sickness, and a much less game. I've played baseball my entire life up to this point. So I've played Little League in high school. I've been sick. I've been throwing up a day. I've had a day where I had a fractured toe. And what I do? I played the next day. He is in a Game 7 finals on a team that hasn't been in the finals since he's been born. Yes, he's going to play that game. It doesn't matter what you told him. You could have told him there's a 100% chance he was going to pull it. He was going to do that to his leg. He's going out there. And he's already said in the hospital, if he was put in that situation, he was doing it again. So, like, he's doing all those medically, yes, he shouldn't have played. But anybody who's an athlete, anybody, just put yourself in that situation. You're playing that, and you have every right to play that. I mean, you're the best player on the team. You're the main reason you're one of the main reasons we got there. We haven't been there since he's been around, so it's not like, and so there's no guarantee this team is ever making it there. Obviously, we have a good team we want to, but there's no guarantee we're ever going to make it to the finals again. You never know what can happen. So there is no doubt he should have played. And the fact that he was able to play a whole Game 6, if he played through Game 6 and he strained it more, or he felt like he put himself in much more pain, then you can really say, okay, you probably shouldn't have. But he played through a whole Game 6, not like he was great or anything, but he played through it, played better than he did in his Game 5. So I'm sure he was probably feeling the same way as he did in Game 6. Yeah, I'm in pain, but I'm doing what I can, and I'm feeling good. And he already looked good, so it's one of those. There was nothing you're telling that guy that was going to keep him off the court. And anybody else in that situation, you're playing, and it's just a really unfortunate thing to happen. And I mean, like I said, he's already said he's going to do it again. It's one of those, just as an athlete, you're going to do it.
It goes into the psychology aspect of it. And I think to your point about Haliburton, like, it sounds crass. It sounds kind of mean spirited, but like, yeah, that you play like that's how sports works. And to your point, so good take there by Paris. Bring Mike Guido into the mix. Mike, you picked the Pacers to win the finals. I'm not even faulting you for that because it did get to a Game 7. Should Tyrese Haliburton have played in that Game 7, knowing the calf situation was where it was?
I think Arthur surmised it perfectly by saying he really had no choice. I mean, I think that's really the way that you have to kind of look at this. Just from a pure leadership perspective, obviously, if Tyrese Haliburton can walk, he's playing. Like that's really it. Unless the guy's on crutches, he's playing. And that just goes from a whole morale thing as well, right? He's the leader. People need to see him put his best foot forward 100% of the time. Haliburton was not going to sit out that game 100% of the. There was absolutely no way. You could even tell by when he originally had that got hurt, when he originally had that injury. You're like, you just kind of knew. Yeah, he's not missing any games. It's too late in the season. It's too important of a game. The Pacers are just not the same team without him. I mean, that's just what it is, truthfully, in a statistical sense. Their field goal percentage goes down. Their offensive points per game go down. Their defensive rating goes down. Every single offensive and defensive category go down without Tyrese Haliburton on the floor. There is just simply no way around that. This is just listen, and it's not even really a close difference, right? Like, they're scoring like 10, 15 points more per game with Haliburton on the floor than without him. So there's no way that that he could be advised, honestly, to sit out this game, even if, the Pacers were even thinking of doing so. There just simply isn't a way for you to get away with that. This is the game that you live for. There is no tomorrow in this sort of sense, right? There literally was not a tomorrow for this. Is game 7 of the NBA Finals. This is 100% what you play for. I apologize for kind of keeping this segment chalked, right? But at the same time, it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? He had to play. The Pacers are a worse team without him. He knows that. Everybody knows that. He had no choice but to play. It's a no-brainer, Bryson. Of course he was going to play.
And some situations, man, the sports just suck. Like, like there's like a no-win situation where, I could blow my Achilles, but then there's, the devil is better than the devil you don't sometimes, where it's, I could blow my Achilles, but on the other side of the coin, if I don't play, man, it's the greatest stage in the history that you can have in the sport of basketball. And, you said, again, knowing that obviously that could have been on the table, the Achilles, but obviously, something Haliburton has, he said it, Paris mentioned it in his IG post, something that he's not second guessing. You're hot, Guido. It's back-to-back 5-point segments to get you to 10 points. Dylan, I thought you had the second best take to get you to 3. Paris, the third best take to get you to 4 points. So Mike is running away with this right now. 10 points for Mike, 4 for Paris, 3 for Dylan, and 1 for Arthur. Rough showing. Arthur, what's going on? You're the points leader. Listen, we understand that you're going to win this thing regardless, but we got to see more of you. We got to see a strong finish here. We got 3 other segments left with everybody in the mix. We're going to get back to the Oklahoma City side of things because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just completed an about as great of a regular season as a person could possibly have. You consider the fact he won league MVP. He won one of the newest awards in the league, conference finals MVP. And of course, he won finals MVP and was one of the best players in basketball all season long and was last year. I believe now is a 3-time first team all NBA guy 3 years in a row. So I'll ask you, Arthur, to start this segment. A lot of great players in the league. I don't think there's ever been more depth of talent in the history of the league than there is today. Where does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander rank currently amongst players in the league?
To answer your question, first off, Bryce, about what's going on with me, dog, I'm on cruise control. I'm right now looking back, seeing what everybody else doing back there. It feels good to be atop the mountain right now and in first place. So, dog, I'm honestly chilling. This is more about, Mike Guido and Dylan Lima. I want to see what those two guys do. But anyways, to answer your question, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is without a doubt the best player in the league right now. Finals MVP, and he won the MVP of this season. I get people are going to say Nikola Jokic. You got to take into account how important he is to his team. Triple-double monster right now. Without a doubt, the best center in the league. And arguably, if he keeps this up, we're going to have very uncomfortable conversations about Nikola Jokic being a top 5 center of all time, probably the greatest of all time. That's, again, an uncomfortable conversation that's going to be had, probably already being had right now. But you can't knock what SGA has done right now. And sports has always been, it's not about what you've done for me. It's not about what you've done. It's about what you've done for me lately. And so far lately, Nikola Jokic, ever since the Denver Nuggets won that ring, he hasn't, he's still the same Nikola Jokic producing, but his team hasn't been able to get back to that spot. SGA, back-to-back years, balling, again, this year, MVP and finals MVP. And we talked about earlier with them possibly going on a dynastic run, which they definitely have the roster, the coaching, and the management to be able to do. And it all decides on him. Does he want it? And the beautiful part about it is he does, and he stays composed about it. He stays even keel. He doesn't let his highs get too high. He doesn't let his lows get too low. He's done a great job of being able to just stay composed. It doesn't matter what moment is going on. So I believe SGA is easily the number 1 player right now in the National Basketball Association.
I love your point about what have you done for me lately. Like that's sports to a T. And Shai you've seen this progressive build. Like in 2023, like they didn't get to the playoffs. They're a playing team, but he was individually great. 1 seed last year, champions this year. That progressive growth from Shai has been unbelievable to watch. And so I think of a great take there, Arthur Hurst. Bring Paris Brown in the mix. Paris, amongst current players in the league right now, again, the talent, the depth is off the charts. Where does Shai rank amongst that? Because he's got to be obviously close to the very top.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely close to the very top. I have him top 3 easily. I do have Nikola Jokic number 1. I think Nikola Jokic, as much as nobody wants to admit, Nikola Jokic is the best player in the league. You don't even have to watch the game. All you have to do is pay attention to his stats. Stat-wise, it's obviously, everybody talks about Shai. Shai only beats him in one category, which is points, and he only averages 3 more points than Jokic. Jokic gets more rebounds, gets more assists per game. He gets more assists per game as a center, and Shai as a point guard. So I put Jokic number 1. And then after that, it's really, to me, it's between Giannis and Shai for 2 and 3. Those are my 2-3. My 1-2-3 is Jokic, Shai, and Giannis. Giannis, obviously, just the size he has and athleticism he has, he's kind of unstoppable when he's driving to the rim. He gets a full head of steam. You don't even want to step in front of that. So he kind of has that size mismatch. And Shai is also kind of to do it all. He has a point guard. He can make good passes, which also I really got to see in the finals facing him, because we played good defense. Having Nembhard on Shai made Shai have to rely more on his team, and he made passes that I did expect him to make. And even if the team around him didn't make the shots they did or didn't, the fact that he was making those passes, he impressed me. And then, of course, he's gonna get his baskets. He gets that mid-range area, and it's more, sometimes doesn't matter how good a defense you are on top of him completely. He's gonna make the shot. So I definitely have him 2 or 3 in between him and Giannis. Jokic to me is just number 1. He can just do everything you ask out of Jokic, but Shai is number 2 for me. And honestly, Jokic can't get better. That's the difference. Jokic is already 30 years old. He can't get better. Is he going to stay how he is? I think so. I don't think he's getting any worse anytime soon, but Jokic can't get worse. And Giannis can't really get better because he's older. Shai has the potential. He's 26. He still has the potential to take another step. Can he? I don't know if he can because he's already so good, but there's a chance he can take another step and make it to the number 1, but I say he's 2 at worst 3.
Well, and that's a scary thing. Your point about Shai is the fact that he is 26. It feels like the prime years. There's no set age, but it feels like in basketball, particularly for guards, 27, 28. So if he's just now entering his prime, he can really, we talked about OKC potentially being a dynasty. Individually speaking, he's going to just either continue to get better or sustain the greatness he's already producing. And if the team continues to be as great as they've been over the last couple of years, particularly this year, then he could put together some kind of a resume. Bring Mike Guido in the mix. Mike, where does Shai rank amongst current players? I think it's mostly consensus he's top 3. You can't really make a case that anyone else outside of potentially Giannis or Jokic is above him. But where does he rank in your mind?
I think he's 2. And I think it's concretely 2. I do think Jokic is better than he is at the moment. Obviously, Jokic, for the past 5 years, he's been top 2 in MVP voting the last 5 years, winning 3 of those awards, averaging a triple-double this year. You can make the argument that Jokic had his best year this year and didn't win the MVP simply due to voter fatigue of are we really going to have this guy win MVP 4 of the last 5 years? I don't know. I think the MVP is a bit of a, it's a weird award, right? Because I think sometimes it goes off vibes and I think sometimes it goes off statistics, but it really depends. But listen, there are points to be made about Shai, right? There are 100% points to be made about Shai. I think Jokic at this point is inarguable. I don't know that there's anybody in the league that can touch him right now, but I would put Shai 2 over guys like Giannis, over guys like Luka, right? Shai's 26 years old. Giannis is about 30, right? So you're talking about guys that, I think Shai, I do think has a little bit of room to get better at this point. Obviously, I led the league in scoring. He's the best player on the best team in the league right now. There's certainly that to be accounted for as well. So super efficient, all of that stuff. I definitely at this point don't think he's better than Jokic, but I do think SGA at this point has eclipsed Giannis. He's eclipsed Jason Tatum. He's eclipsed Luka. He's eclipsed LeBron, whoever else you want to throw on that list as well. Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, whoever else you want to throw in that sort of list. I think SGA right now is ranking ahead of those guys. Jokic is the only mountain he's got left to climb.
I think you make a great point about the MVP, and I've said this before, and this is the season 2 finale. I'll say it. It feels like the criteria for what is a league MVP tends to change every year. And listen, no one NBA season looks the same. There's regular season. There's your point, vibes, statistics, all of it playing in this situation. So a good take there by Mike Guido. Finally, with you, Dylan. Dylan, you sort of alluded to it earlier about Shai potentially being the best player in the league. Say why you believe that, and why you have Shai above Jokic, Giannis, and other guys.
Yeah, look, everybody made great points about Jokic. If we want to talk about the past couple of years, without a doubt, Jokic has been the bona fide number 1 dude, and there is definitely some valid points where he could have won it again this year. But if I'm just going to talk about just this year and looking into next year, I want Shai over anyone else in the league right now. We're talking about MVP. We're talking about scoring title. And all-star, first team All-NBA. He won the Western Conference Finals MVP. Number 1 seed on arguably one of the best teams to have ever been made for just a single season. and then obviously won Finals MVP along with his championship. He had almost a clean sweep of every single possible award he could have won besides Depoy. And, he's an undeniably great guard on defense as well, averaging a steal, almost 2 steals, averaging a block per game as well. And the potential to get better is also something that I also take some stock into as well. Let's not forget during these playoffs, the Thunder did beat the Nuggets in 7. Of course, Jokic did everything in his power to carry the Nuggets as hard as he could, but who was there at every single point to reply and make sure that his team came on top? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He very rarely had any duds throughout this whole playoffs. I think his just undeniable consistency, his all-around great game, I just don't see how, again, Jokic is the only other guy that I think is on his level. And if we're talking about his size, his skill, his ability to do just about anything, yeah, I definitely think Jokic is definitely in that stratosphere as well. The one thing I could say is maybe if Shai could improve his playmaking skills a little bit and be more, just an all-around guy, like that's the one thing that I would say that maybe Jokic has that Shai doesn't really, if we're just pushing physicals to the side. And look, I think Shai's tenacity and his will to always do his best and play as hard as he can no matter what day it is, and he was very durable as well. He only missed like 6 games throughout the whole season. He has been nonstop reliable, and let's not forget he was runner-up last year as well. He was runner-up last year MVP, and he was in that Depoy conversation. So I think with all that considered, plus being now a consistent 30-plus per game scorer, is just, what can this man not do? The only thing that he doesn't have is not being 7 feet tall. So I personally think as of right now and going into next year, just in this exact sample size, I think Shai's the number 1 guy.
That's a fair case to make, and I'll go and bring everybody back into the mix. And sort of the last point that I'll add to everybody's praise of Shai wherever you have him is 2 crazy stats. Just about the season he had, where he's the first guard to go 32-5-5-1-1 since Michael Jordan in 1988, which many argue is Jordan's best season. Steph Curry had his best season individually in 2016. Shai's the first and the only guy since Steph to shoot 50, 35, 90, and average 30 a game. So the efficiency's there, all of it. And again, the sort of you brought up Dylan, the defense. And by the way, Dylan, I actually had the best take of the segment. I'll give you 5 points to get you to 8. Paris Brown at number 2 at the second best take to get you to 7. Mike Guido with 1. Arthur, what's I know you're in cruise
Hey,
control.
dude,
What's happening? What's happening?
I'm helping the bronze medal guys, dog. I'm helping them out. All right. Silver and gold is cool, bro. They're on lock. The bronze is what I came to see, dog. Okay, I'm here for the bronze medal, dog.
Listen, Arthur, what Arthur is doing is what teams with the first round bye in the NFL playoffs do in week 18. Like, play your starters a couple drives, take them out, lose by 3 touchdowns. That's what he's doing. But nonetheless, he understands there's absolutely nothing at risk for him. And you know what? To a degree, I kind of respect it. Last segment, where or at least 3 of the 4 guys will score. Game 7, Kevin Durant got traded. In case anyone heard about that, he was traded to the Houston Rockets for Dylan Brooks, for Jalen Green, who was kind of the centerpiece of that deal, 1st round pick, and 5 second round picks. There's been a lot of discussion, Paris, about how he'll fit. So I'll ask you to start this segment. What are reasonable expectations? What should the Houston Rockets do as far as team success in 2026 now that they have one of the greatest scorers in the history of the game?
So I wonder if there's a difference between what I expect for them and what they expect for them, because the fact that they got rid of Jalen Green for Kevin Durant means they're getting rid of maybe building on their future to let's win right now. Obviously, they still got Sengun, you still got Thompson, and them 2 are very young, so they can, obviously you can build them. But Jalen Green was also that piece, and he was young, and he was getting better, and that's my big issue with this. You got rid of somebody who's getting better that can keep you guys, continuing to grow for someone who's, 37? There is no getting better, and he's still great. Kevin Durant is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's still somebody who can score anywhere around. But you get rid of the potential of building to let's win now. And so if they're doing this trade, that means they are thinking Kevin Durant's coming in, and that's the piece they're missing. So they're expecting to either make it all the way or make it close to all the way, because you don't bring a Kevin Durant in if you're not expecting to go all the way. So in their view, they have to be thinking this move puts us there so we can compete with anybody in the West and make it to the conference finals or to the finals and win it. I don't see that happen. At least not this year. I don't see that team making it. I expect them to be in the playoffs. They were number 2 seed this year. even if they're not a number 2 seed, I expect them to be a top 5 seed. Just the West is tough. The West is very tough. So if you're a top 5 seed in the West, you gain respect because you can be the number 5 seed in the West, and that can be the number 2 seed in the East. So that's respectable. But I expect 2 through 5 placement for them, and then out first or second round. I don't expect them to be too much better than this year. I expect the playoffs, but I don't think Kevin Durant is changing their team to make it that far. I expect a playoff appearance and then getting taken out.
Well, I mean, listen, KD, in some ways his fault, in some ways not, has not contributed to team success since he's been in Golden State since 2019. So like that's a totally fair case to make. Does Paris Brown? So a solid take by him. I'll go ahead and bring Mike into the mix. Mike, Kevin Durant's one of the greatest scorers of all time. As a matter of fact, his numbers now still look pretty similar to some of his prime years, even if the team success hasn't been there. What do you expect the Houston Rockets to do in 2026 now that he's on their roster?
Well, it 100% in my mind hinders on which Kevin Durant you get from a mental and emotional standpoint. This is really, and this is kind of how I see it. This is really Kevin Durant's first opportunity in his career. Maybe I shouldn't say first, maybe second opportunity in his career where he can truly be a vet leader of a group of young players, right? Kevin Durant can step into Houston and be the guy that everybody looks to get the job done, right? He could be the mentor to all of these young players. I've said it from the beginning, Bryson, and again, you're not doing the draft with me this year, so we've done it the last few years, but I've said to you on several occasions, I think the Houston Rockets have one of the best young rosters in the NBA, and it seemingly kind of fell all into place this year. Now, Jalen Green is definitely not nothing. Like, giving up Jalen Green is not nothing. However, Kevin Durant, even at this point in his career, is still a more solidified star than he is. You're getting more efficiency out of him. As far as like team productivity is concerned, the Rockets are last year were about 8th in offensive rating and 6th in defensive rating. I think both of those tend to improve. I do think at this point this year, next year, we should be talking about them as a Western Conference Finals contender in that respect. Because if you just look up and down what the Western Conference has, Oklahoma City's Oklahoma City, obviously, but Lakers with LeBron and Luka. Okay, how are they going to address it? Obviously, the Nuggets with Jokic are going to be in contention. The Warriors, where are they going to be? The Timberwolves, where are they going to be? This is not a West that is overwhelmed with great, great teams where they can suddenly take a step back. The West is kind of open for them to contend, obviously outside of the Thunder, but for them to contend in a serious way. I mean, look at what their roster even has, and I don't want to be too long-winded, but guys like Jabari Smith, guys like Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason can learn a lot from somebody like Kevin Durant. So to me, honestly, I think it could be a phenomenal move for the Rockets if Kevin Durant takes the responsibility of actually being a leader for this team. But if not, then I think things can go south pretty quickly, Bryson. I think you and I could probably both agree on that.
Absolutely, and I think Kevin has been his most successful in ready, set cultures. Golden State's the biggest example of that. But what Ime Udoka's doing in Houston, what that front office has done, sort of what you mentioned in draft after draft after draft, just accumulating this young talent. Like you said, if he's bought him, emotionally, that's a team I think that has no business not being in the Western Conference Finals personally. Let's see what Dylan Lima thinks. I'll go ahead and bring him in. What do you think the Houston Rockets should do, will do, whatever the case may be in 2026 now that Kevin Durant is on their team?
I'm going to be honest. I think they still need some more pieces. I feel like, they had a very good year last year. I think last year was definitely an outlier season. They definitely took advantage of some massive dramas and movements, whether it was firings or trades that happened at the deadline. And with so much chaos, the Rockets kind of just stayed steady and just stayed consistent throughout the whole season. What the thing with Kevin Durant is that he'll definitely give you scoring. So obviously Jalen Green was a scorer, and now is his biggest thing. And Kevin Durant will arguably give them an upgrade in that circumstance. But I think their defense is definitely going to be lacking. So they were definitely a hard-headed defensive team last year. I'm not a fan of Dylan Brooks. You know, he's kind of in that Draymond Green zone, in my personal opinion. But what Draymond Green does is get in people's heads and plays immaculate defense, and that's what Dylan Brooks did. He was a very strong defender, and they still have Ahmed Thompson, who was absolutely amazing last year. He had a breakout year, and I think he has the potential to be a star as well. But you know, you look at Fred VanVleet. He's a 6-foot guy. He's not going to be a good defender. You got Alfred Sengun, who I'm a massive fan of, but he's not known for his defending either. And then you have Tari Eason as a small forward that, like, he's kind of just a meh for me personally. And Kevin Durant, he's a leader in the sense that he's going to get his. He's going to go in there, be the number one guy, kind of be the alpha in that group. But Kevin Durant was never known to be a dude that builds up other people. He was never known to actually mentor and teach people. He was just more of a lead by example type of guy where I'm going to get my buckets. If you want to learn from what I do, go ahead. I've said it time and time again where he kind of has a kind of just like about him, he just wants to play basketball. He doesn't care about the X's and O's. He doesn't care about what it would take to take a rookie and, you know, put him under his wing and make him better. He never did that in Brooklyn. He never did that in Phoenix. Golden State, he didn't have to do that. And with the Thunder, he was the young guy and he was like a leader in that stance. But again, everybody was so young where he didn't really have the opportunity to do so. So I think there's going to be a massive shift where if Kevin Durant doesn't work out and the Rockets still work out, we're going to see the same repeat that we've seen the past couple of years with these other teams where we have a honeymoon phase and then it falls apart if things don't work out. And that could very well happen this season. So they need to get more before I could truly say they're true contenders. I'd say maybe first round of the playoffs. I think they're first round, but that's about it.
Well, you mentioned a honeymoon phase. That's kind of what we saw in Phoenix to a certain degree. Like, I remember there was a situation where before that game one of the playoffs, when it was him, Chris Paul, Ayton, and Devin Booker playing, when it feels like a million years ago that team was together, but they were undefeated. I think they were like 8-0. Like, so like there always does seem to be like a good vibes period. I think we saw with the Lakers and Luka before that kind of dissolved in the first round, the Warriors with Jimmy Butler before they fell apart physically. So it's a solid point there by Dylan Lima. Finally to you, Arthur Hurst. Kevin Durant's now a Houston Rocket, and listen, he's not certainly not the player he was at Apex Kevin Durant, but he's still Kevin Durant. As he said years ago, you know who I am. What do you think he does for Houston this year? What do you think their expectations should be coming into this next NBA season?
To be realistic and fair to them, I believe a first, maybe second round exit is realistic. Kevin Durant is still Kevin Durant, despite his older age. I mean, I talked about it a few nights ago. His game is literally perfect for his age. He works inside out. He doesn't do too much. Defense, though, again, as Dylan pointed out, defense is going to be the thing that's challenging for him in his older age, especially with that younger team. They're going to need another guard, honestly. You're going to need somebody that you can pair up with Fred VanVleet in the backcourt, unless you want to have Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore. One of those guys come up into the starting unit, which I don't really see happening. I believe those are two guys that can still grow in their roles off the bench before they become starters on that Houston Rockets team. And then you got to think about what you want to do with Amen Thompson. You know, he's already a great slasher and a great defensive guy. If you want to possibly add to his game to where he can play a point forward position to where the ball is not always in Fred VanVleet's hands or Kevin Durant's, he can play more of a Draymond Green type role where he's able to run the offense, get to his spots where he wants to slash and get to the rim and play great defense. But they're going to need another guard, man, to run with VanVleet. They just don't have enough, in my opinion, to be able to really push with that starting unit. As inefficient as Jalen Green was, he would have been able to grow. And that's my biggest thing with young guys, is being able to let them grow. Not everybody is going to come out the gate being able to be smoking hot. That's unrealistic. That's something that happens every blue moon. Like, it's a thing that we've put on young players because we've seen guys like Anthony Edwards, guys like Zion Williamson, guys like John Morant come out and just hoop. We don't let guys develop. We don't let guys grow into their own who they want to be as a player, especially for whatever situation and team that they're on. So it's going to be different. And for him as that number one guy, this is what he needed in Jalen Green. He needed a year. It was like, okay, this is what this stuff looks like. But you get rid of him. Add an older Kevin Durant, again, who can still score, but I believe will be a liability on defense. But they need another guard to be able to take the ball out of Van Vliet's hands and Kevin Durant and be able to run that offense. I just don't think that they'll have enough to really be able to get them through those lows, especially come playoff time, when Kevin Durant's going to damn near have to drop 30 a game. And that's not something KD wants to do. He wants to give you at least 28, efficient shooting, a little bit from the free throw line, and go home. But Kevin Durant's going to have to step up in an even bigger role that he played in Phoenix and in Brooklyn.
No question about that. And we'll go and bring everybody back in the mix. Dylan, Mike, and Paris. Everybody's back in. Yeah, I think to your point, like, it's from a stylistic standpoint, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Arthur. Like, he works everywhere. I've said there's 4 chapters of the Kevin Durant book. Chapter 1, he's amazing. Chapter 2, whoa, Golden State, he was winning championships. Chapter 3, why in God's name did he leave Golden State for the dysfunctional Nets? And Chapter 4, he can literally fit in any situation because, like you said, his game is that translatable. Unbelievable stuff, guys. Somehow, some way, Dylan Lima has taken the lead with a 5-point segment here. He is followed by Arthur Hurst. Arthur, finally, he did something. Getting the 3 points and the second mistake. Mike Guido, a close second at 12 points. Guys, we're in a situation, by the way, everybody advanced to the final round. Ironically speaking, both Mike and Dylan would have advanced if this were our regular rules. But because this is our season finale, Arthur, Paris, this is a fun segment we're going to do at the end. But we're in a situation where let's look at what the leaderboard was before we came in, and we'll update this by the end of the night. But that 3 and 4 spot, Dylan was up by 2 points. He has thus extended his lead to 1. What that means essentially, obviously, if Dylan wins the segment, he gets that number 3 spot. If Mike Guido wins the segment, he gets the number 3 spot. But if Arthur or Paris win the segment, Dylan also gets the 3-point spot. So, like, this is a situation, again, to use an NFL example, where, like, you can clinch your own playoff berth, but someone else can clinch it for you, right, by beating another team that you beat early this season. Like, it's a lot of playoff scenarios going on right now. So let's kind of narrow this down and get it to 2 people in this segment, because it's just me and you, Mike, to start this. We had a lot of great sports moments this year, and season 2, the 8 o'clock spot, began in late August, early September. An NFL season, an NBA season, and baseball playoffs, by the way, concluded in that time. College football. We had an Olympics right before that. You can include the Olympics if you want to do so. What was the best moment in sports this year? And tell me why that is, Mike Guido.
Well, unfortunately, as much as I would like to say that it was Juan Soto's go-ahead home run in the ALCS, I unfortunately, for the sake of the possibility of me winning this and medaling in this show, I think the best moment that I saw this year in that span of time was Freddie Freeman's walk-off home run in Game 1 of the World Series. Even as a Yankee fan, as heartbreaking as it was, and it shredded me. As soon as Freddie Freeman hit that home run, I said to myself, it's over. There's no coming back from that. There simply is no coming back from that. From a managerial blunder that some people say, where Nestor Cortez had not pitched in a month, and he brings him in that situation against Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman made Dodger history through everything that he had gone through this year, everything that had gone on with his kid, the injuries that he had suffered through. He was injured while playing in the World Series. Obviously, and listen, it mirrored what Kirk Gibson did 30 years earlier. I think that was, to me, if you just compare it to everything else, I think it's a no-brainer that, again, as much as it pains me, what he did for the Dodgers and what the Dodgers have been able to do for him, right? It just kind of accentuates that. I think that was such an incredible moment. Listen, Dalton Brown, who co-hosts Bi-Coastal Baseball with me, he says, you can't even describe how much that moment meant to Dodger fans. I don't know that there's a moment in sports this year that can mirror what that moment was like for their fan base than what Freddie Freeman did for the Dodgers in Game 1 of the World Series.
It was almost, and the great Joe Davis, who is the voice of the Dodgers and the voice of the World Series on Fox.
Gibby meet Freddie.
Gibby meet Freddie. What a call! But even the way he set it up before, like I remember, like Fox showed the full shot of Dodger Stadium. He's like, "This is the moment every kid dreams of. Bases loaded in the world." It's like it was perfect the way that
Perfect.
I mean you could not have drawn it up any better, and that's really I will give you credit as a Yankees fan for you to admit. I imagine maybe the most painful loss, one of the most painful losses in the history. I mean, Game 7 in 04 had to hurt as well. I'm like, oh gosh, darn it, that was rough. But a great take there by Mike. Let's go and bring in Dylan in the mix again. Like, this is, let's be honest, these are the only two takes that matter. Although Arthur and Paris will technically decide the segment as well. Dylan, we had a lot of great moments in sports this year. What was the best in your mind, and tell us exactly why that is.
The one that stood out to me the most, I think, was the Shedeur Sanders slide to day 3, because this was a multi-week affair leading up to it where it felt like it was Cam Ward was number 1, Shedeur Sanders is number 2 quarterback, and everybody else maybe would be lucky to even be considered first round quarterback. And then we started hearing rumors about, Shedeur is just not so great with the interviews, and he wasn't willing to go in the combine. We only saw him at pro day. The coaches weren't really getting a good vibe out of Shedeur. And then all of a sudden, come draft day, Cam Ward goes 1, and then just absolute silence. To the point that, we saw Shedeur, he was at his home with his family. He had his own little room set up that he was ready to go and sit in and, celebrate being picked in that day 1, and he never heard his name. We had Jackson Dart go in the first round. And then now all of the NFL, Twitter, internet, everyone was just blowing up like, what's going on? Why aren't we seeing Shedeur go? Day 2 comes by. Again, we're seeing all these quarterbacks come off the board. And then again, it was just like, now all of a sudden everybody's thinking like, what happened to Shedeur? Is he okay? Like, what are these teams doing? And then finally he gets that day 3 pick to the Browns, where they even drafted a quarterback before they drafted Shedeur, who may even be on the roster come, the final roster. I think just like the way that the NFL is able to drum up drama and anticipation as far as the draft goes, and we see someone who has the pedigree, who has the skills, and was someone that was part of what turned around, an otherwise awful Colorado team before him and his father showed up there. And then just watching everybody just, slowly, little by little, just leak out about just all these character concerns and things that ultimately, maybe weren't too positive, but like at the same time, just like everybody just holding on, being like, when is Shedeur going to get drafted? And then finally getting that day 3 pick. I just think that month-long drama of that for me was something that we don't see draft slides like this happen, every year. This is something that very rarely happens. So for me, I think that was what stood out the most.
It was funny when we obviously did our draft show on the GRYD Network night 1, and it was surprising to see him fall, but it wasn't, I cannot believe this is happening. I can't fathom this. I actually, quick story, I actually went to see a movie the night that of rounds 2 and 3. I fully expected to come out of the theater, check my phone, Shedeur Sanders drafted by X. Come out, and the story is, oh my God, we're going to go into round 4, and he still hasn't been drafted yet. So it was stunning, no question about it. It's one of the most shocking draft slides we've seen in some time. Arthur Hurst, bring you to the mix. We've had a lot of great moments in sports between August, September 2024 on to June 2025. I think I know what your answer is, but nonetheless, you tell me what the top moment is of this past sports season.
Man, there's no doubt, Bryson. It's when my Buckeyes, the Ohio State Buckeyes, won the national championship, dog. Because listen, I was there in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in Atlanta, Georgia, dog. I watched it happen live. Right? Okay, you got to think about it from my perspective, dude. We lose to Michigan. 4th year in a row, I believe. Heartbreaking. I've been up and down with this Buckeyes team all year because it's like, man, we have really good moments and great moments when we're like, dang, nobody can beat us. And then we have these moments where it's like, what's going on offense? What's going on defense? What's going on coaching? And it's like, dang, like they just have these slips where it's like, this team is just very inconsistent. And when we lost to Michigan, I was like, dude, like, if they've beaten us the same way they beat us the previous 3 years, all they did was just run the ball. And they played pretty damn good defense. But it was like we just let the game give away. I remember when Will Harvard got cracked in that game. I was like, oh, he don't look the same. He got cracked, and it's done. I was like, okay, you know what? Michigan won this. Man, when we came out, first off, I don't know what your Tennessee Volunteers thought this was. Dog, it gets cold up here in the Midwest and in the North. It gets cold. Y'all clearly were not ready. Y'all came out thinking y'all were going to be cool and okay, having your shirts off and working out and stuff. No, dog. It gets cold up here. And kudos and nice job to y'all's quarterback. I forget his name, but he finna get his ass kicked this year in the Big Ten. He tried, okay? But there's just something about that D-line of the Ohio State Buckeyes where it's like, no, I don't give a damn what you do. You're not going to be able to do too much. And then we go into Pasadena. We win that game. Whoop Oregon's behind. And then, dog, Texas. I was at that game too. When Jack Sawyer came off that edge and fumbled his former roommate at Ohio State, Quinn Ewers, and took the ball to the house to win the game, or not to even win the game. We were already in the lead to basically put the exclamation point in the game. I was like, oh, we got Notre Dame up next. And listen, man, when I saw Jeremiah Smith lined up one-on-one that last possession, I was like, dude, this is a go route for him. It's over. Just throw the ball to number 4. I don't care that Travis Hunter went number 1. If Jeremiah Smith could have gone in this year's draft, he would have gone number 1. He was easily the best wide receiver. He was easily the best player in college football. He would have gone number 1 in the NFL draft this year. Ohio State Buckeyes hoisting that trophy, dog. Easily the best moment in sports.
By the way, Jack Sawyer, who is a new Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the picks actually I did like from this draft, and your quarterback Will Howard is now on the Steelers roster as well. But yeah, listen, as a Vols fan, I'm asking similar questions you are. I don't know what the heck we were doing in this. We were taking our shirts off like that. That to me, excuse me, showed almost like a level of we have to actually show you, hey, this isn't bothering us at all. We about to get our ass kicked for 60 minutes. Like that's what it felt like for Tennessee. And I knew after that first drive, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a long night. This is gonna be a long night in the horseshoe. And your Buckeyes, y'all whooped up on my balls. And by the way, whooped up on my preseason national championship pick Oregon, and then took care of business against Texas and Notre Dame. It was a very impressive run. So shout out to Arthur Hurst Buckeyes. Finally with you, Paris, top moment of the sports year. We had a lot of great ones. What was your favorite moment of the sports year? Why was it the best of the sports year?
So I feel like everybody thinks I'm gonna pick a Tyrese Haliburton one, and I can't. Just for the fact that he did it, 4 times? The fact that he did it 4 times kind of hurts it in himself. It was so impressive, but you really can't pick one. If I had to pick one, to me, my favorite of him was the Cleveland one. And I know the New York one was so magical, but Neesmith was the reason we got there. And then you just had the magical shot. If that was a 3, I would pick it, but it wasn't. But to me, the best moment I watched was Cam Scatterbo versus Texas in the college football playoffs. I mean, that dude took over the team and single-handedly put that team in overtime and single-handedly took that team as far as he could until he lost at the end off of, an interception, which again isn't his fault. I mean, the dude had 253 yards himself. Texas was the number 4 ranked defense, only giving up 15 points a game. The dude scored 21 points himself. Not only did he score 21 points himself, he was over there throwing up on the sideline. We've all thrown up. After you throw up, you feel absolutely terrible. You don't want to do anything. He threw up, went out there, scored a touchdown on one of the best defenses in the team in college football. Literally dominated everything. Went for 140 running. Went for 100 receiving on a team that people said this is one of the better defenses. He carried this team all the way there. That was one of the single performances by one player. One of the best single performances by one player that I have seen. But a guy that I personally, through that moment, did not care for. Because I was a whole, Genty's better, Genty does all this. I could care less about Cam. And then I got to single-handedly watch that game after they scored 3 points total in the first half. And I was like, yeah, see, it's just Cam on this team. Cam can't do it by himself. This team's better. Defense is going to stop him. It went from they can't do anything to Cam himself was better than the defense. And it was one of the moments where I've never seen one player be able to beat an entire, not just a team, a top 5 defensive team by himself.
Yeah, it was pretty special, and what he did again, throwing the football, passing football, like it was very. I remember Christian McCaffrey who had a game like that with 49ers a couple of years ago. Like, I feel like they threw a touchdown, caught it.
Derrick Henry, those touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean it's just unbelievable stuff to being an all-around player, and he was outstanding. I think if I'm correct, I think he's with the Giants now. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Scatterbo's with the Giants. So yeah, unbelievable college career at Arizona State. Let's bring everybody back in the mix. So man, it's kind of sad. Paris, you just gave the final take of season 2 of the 8 o'clock spot. So let's everybody give ourselves a round of applause. It's a great season. We have not announced the 3rd place spot. Arthur, we'll give you your time. Paris will give you your time. But this is about 2 men in particular. I feel like Ryan Seacrest in American Idol right now. Dylan Lima, Mike Guido, coming in this final round. Dylan had a 3-point lead over Mike Guido. And I will tell you right on the front end, one of you two won this game. And the winner of tonight's episode of the 8 o'clock spot, and therefore the number 3 spot, the bronze medalist for this show, is none other than Mike Guido, who wins the show. Congratulations to Mike as he gets the job done. Where's the music? Where's the music? There it is, the music. We'll give you your third place speech, but as for this one,
feels good. Feels real good. It feels like you had some making up to do after our debacle the past couple of days. Listen, you dropped a bomb on me like Trump dropped a bomb on Iran last night, dude. You just killed me. You really did. You just absolutely did. So, listen, it feels good to get up on the podium again, and I'm like a cockroach. You can't kill me. Can't kill me.
Evidently not. Arthur, and we'll give Arthur his time. It feels like is this another win over Arthur technically? Like, I guess, like, again, he says he was in cruise control. He got hot there at the end. I actually liked his Ohio State take. But okay, so we have 3 winners for the 8 o'clock spot. And let's make sure we get this right and get the standings back in the mix before we get everybody on here. I feel like this is like a banquet type situation, but hold on. Let's get the standings back up here. Here we go. It should be because I went ahead and updated the standings as as Paris was finishing his take. Here we go. Here it is. Okay. So the updated and therefore the final season 2, 8 o'clock spot leaderboard. Arthur Hurst is your gold medalist at 420 points. Paris Brown is your silver medalist at 230 points. Mike Guido at the buzzer is your third place, is your bronze medalist at 204 points. I will bring Mike back in the mix here and let him give his bronze medal speech. He had to get hot there at the end, but you got the job done. What your thoughts on this season for you, Mike, and be able to just crack the opportunity to win a?
It was fantastic. And by the way, I just want to point out that on that last segment, I was really torn between 2 different things, right? I was torn between Freddie Freeman in Game 1 of the World Series and then Rory McIlroy winning the Masters. I thought that was also something that could have been mentioned as well. Completing the Grand Slam. But listen, man, you can't kill the OGs. You just simply can't do it. Okay, Arthur might be the talented young buck that everybody's talking about, right? By the way, I saw his score. By the way, 420. Nice. I appreciate that. Also, listen, I just, it's always a blast being on this show. I knew that once we tested this show 2 years ago that it was going to be a winner. It 100% is. It's a great time. And I'm glad to see that we've got 2 rookies, 2 first-year GRYD panelists at the top here. But mark my words, next year is mine. It's mine. Arthur is not going to have the volume scoring that can compare to me. There is no shot that happens next year. No shot. I'm coming for it.
Wow.
I'm coming for it.
Wow. I mean, you win a medal at the gun, you're already taking shots at the king like that, man. And listen, it's a situation where Arthur's the overall winner. Volume scoring. I call that consistency. Volume scoring. How dare you, Mike Guido? That's insulting.
He's the James Harden of the GRYD.
Oh, get out of here. That's insulting.
I'm joking.
Get out of here.
I love Arthur. I do. But I'm coming for him.
Listen, we got fuel for a season 3 rivalry. We've talked about this privately as a network. This will be fun stuff. Let's bring in Paris Brown. Listen, Paris, it was tough to see your Pacers go on the fashion that they did, but silver medalist, not bad, my man. Silver medalist coming in second place on this list. Your thoughts, your performance this season, and just looking forward to season 3 coming up this September.
Listen, I'm happy with it, man. Obviously, we go for number 1, but I watch the Pacers take number 2. I'm following right and soon taking number 2. But for the first time being here, it's one of those, it was like the start. I had to get used to it. I had to get used to what it was doing. And that's what slowed me down. Obviously, Arthur had the consistency no matter what, but we're also really hurt at that beginning, My first time doing it, obviously his first time, he got off and started running. I had to build myself up. And those first, couple months, I started off slow. And for a while, it was just, I couldn't beat Arthur. I could get there, but couldn't beat him. And I finally, at the end, beat him once. I'm pretty sure I won 2 or 3 times. So all I got to say is, listen, he might have won this year, and obviously all the talk is between Mike and Arthur. I let them talk and beat them out and beat each other up, and that might make it easier for me. You know, them two gonna be fighting so hard, they gonna forget about me, and the fact that at the end I actually started winning. So like, I just don't forget about me, man. I'm in second place. I can't be forgetting.
No, you can. And again, your consistency was not that far off of Arthur's. And listen, I like this sort of like, you know, I'm like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, yeah, you know, Paris is in the 8 o'clock. No, I'm coming after both y'all's next season, just like you did in season 2. So shout out to Paris Brown. Well, listen, Arthur, I mean, the shots being taken at the King today. I mean, Guido just went right at you, just straight up, and so did Paris. But before we give Arthur's time to sun, one final celebration for the champion, season 2 of the 8 o'clock spot. Your gold medalist. May I introduce the great Arthur Hurst. Congratulations.
Listen, Bryson, it feels good coming here as a rookie and just, you know, whoop some ass. It feels very, very good, man. I don't know how I feel about Mike telling me over and over he's going to come for me, but, you know, that's neither here or there. Look, man, I also appreciate, you know, just being with a good group of guys that love sports and, you know, coming on here not every single week, because, you know, I had my time where I didn't show up, or I had my moments where I just took days off and things of that nature, but being able to just learn from everybody, you know, understanding that you gotta come with the information, you gotta come with your delivery, you gotta have points, right? You gotta come with your A game, man. And if you don't, somebody's gonna do better with you. You gotta make sure you're prepared and everything. And I love it, man. But I you know, when I was told that this was something I could participate in and do, losing was not an option for me. I love sports debating, but I also, again, love talking sports in general, and winning, you know, anything but losing. I don't give a damn if I was a rookie. I didn't care if I kept losing to Guido and all of this stuff. I don't care about him being an OG. I don't care about him being a co-founder. Me not winning this year in my first year on this thing was not an option, because I gotta let y'all recognize who y'all fucking with, man. This is what it's going to be from here on and here out, dog. Y'all going to see a lot more of this gold medalist by my freaking name. So best believe next year, Mike, you got to be on, dude. You can say what you want about, you know, I'm not going to repeat it, but dude, you got to be on. You got to quit ducking the smoke. I don't care if you in school, dog. You come out of class, you better be here, dog. So nah, it's all nice and cute, but next year, don't worry.
Listen, there's almost an element like I'm kind of like we saw at the Thunder, and we'll bring everybody back in the mix one final time. And by the way, shout out to Dylan as well. Dylan, you had a fantastic night tonight. The late rally there was inspiring, to say the very least, to get yourself in a position where you could win. And by the way, against someone else, Dylan was clutch for us this year when there was like situations like when you need to step in and be a panelist was huge. So shout out to Dylan. But listen, Arthur, and you sort of hit the nail on the head. And you join an exclusive list of you and Barry Grant Jr., which, let's be honest, the season didn't complete last year. Mike still could have run down Barry. Barry was probably going to win, but it wasn't locked in stone the way Arthur was just wire to wire, basically the champion of the show. But on 8 o'clock spot, it's not just the takes. It's not just the information. It's not... You got to bring personality to it. You got to bring humor to it. And sort of what you just did there a second ago, like you went out with a bang. Pause. Anyways, congratulations to everybody who participated on this show. For the final time, let's show the leaderboard. Let's give everybody love who participated in the show. Gold medalist Arthur Hurst, silver medalist Paris Brown, bronze medalist Mike Guido. Shout out to Dylan Lima as well at the 4th spot, followed by Barry Grant Jr., Tyler Reddington, Tim Barnard, Frank Spates, Kieran Glenn, myself, Alfred Parsard Jr., who, by the way, hosted In My Absence. Big shout out to Alfred Parsard Jr. for holding down the fort the last few months. Asher Moore, Eric Van Linton. That's a 13, 14, 15. That should be 12. There's a mistake with the list. It's all good. Asher Moore, Eric Van Linton, Eric Ruiz, EJ Savage. Shout out to everybody who competed on season 2 of the 8 o'clock spot. Shout out to all our 4 panelists, our top 4 leaders on the show. We will see you guys next season for what's going to be a loaded season 3 of the 8 o'clock spot. Have a great week. Have a great summer. And we will see y'all. And man, we are coming for y'all. Big time show. Shout out to y'all. Have a good night. Peace out.